Hey everyone, this short video is about the CoSoHammer streamer, which is short for the Conehead Soft-hackle marabou streamer, originally conceived of by Jack Gartside. I'm going to show how it looks underwater and some of the interesting characteristics of it. I talk about this streamer extensively in my 3 books and around the country as I give fly fishing presentations. People are always asking for more information, and so this video is an attempt to do just that. One of the great things about this fly pattern is it's so simple and easy to tie. There's a lot of great streamer patterns out there, but a lot of them are complicated and use a lot of materials. This fly just has 4. 1 marabou feather soft hackled around the shank of the hook, a cone head, some fibers for color and texture, and a mallard or grouse feather for the collar. Here's a photo that shows how you soft hackle that 1 marabou feather around the shank of the hook with the fibers being brushed back to create the bulk of the fly. You can tie any number of color combinations. Here's my favorite combination for big brook trout, lots of yellow, orange, or red as an underbody. When I'm fishing for landlocked salmon, they like yellow in their fly, so here's a white, yellow, and black version that imitates a smelt that's deadly for landlocked salmon, but you can try your own color variations. I'm sure any number of combinations will work. Here's a wide variety of combinations that imitate everything from a smelt to a baby brook trout. Last year I caught a nice brook trout, and as I brought him in, he coughed up a bait fish that he clearly had eaten a couple days before, and I was interested in the similarity between the way the bait fish looked and the CoSoHammer streamer that I caught the fish on. Here's a view of a CoSoHammer streamer in the mouth of a big brook trout. You can see how it looks different wet than it does when it's dry. Magic of this fly pattern is what it looks like underwater. So realistic for such a simple fly. So let me show you what it looks like under different water conditions. Here's a fisheye view of how the CoSoHammer streamer looks like when retrieved in a river or stream with relatively fast current. This would be a typical retrieve where you would cast cross-stream, slightly downstream, and retrieve across the current and then up the current as you bring it back to yourself. And you can see from a fisheye view of a predatory fish sitting behind a rock in the current how seductive this fly is and why it's so irresistible and why so many big fish chase it. The long marabou feather in the back is not impeded by a long hook. There's a short hook on this fly pattern, and so those marabou feathers are free to swirl and give what you see in front of you that kind of lifelike motion in the current. The cone head at the front keeps the fly down under the surface of the water even in pretty fast current, and also gives that up and down jigging motion. So when you have the jigging motion in addition to the movement of the marabou fibers, you get this kind of realistic look. This fly pattern works very effectively in deep pools, ponds, or lakes, because even though there's not the same amount of current to give movement to the tail of the fly, the conehead still imparts this very seductive jigging motion, and that jigging as it goes up and down is what moves the fibers of the fly to give it that realistic look. So it is equally effective in slow water as it is in fast water, as you can see from this video. Again, so seductive even without a lot of movement. The key to Hey, here's a tip. If you're fishing over trout or salmon that see a lot of angling pressure, try presenting this fly in a natural drift downstream like you would ordinarily fish a nymph. This is the way most predatory fish are going to attack hurt or distracted bait fish when they're moving down current. And so you can see from this video what this fly looks like as it's just drifting down the current, looking helpless, very much more natural presentation to a fish than swimming upstream in front of their nose. And even with just drifting down current, the marabou fibers still give it a very realistic silhouette and a very realistic movement. Water view of how you fish marabou streamer on dead drift like a nymph. You can see how I just flip it upstream and let it drift downstream. In case you're curious how you're going to tell you have a strike, trust me, that won't be a problem. They nail this thing very hard. You can even grease up a non-conehead version of this fly and dead drift it on the surface. Often dead fish will float on the surface and predatory fish are on the lookout for them, and they'll come up and grab this thing to the amazement of anybody watching. The CoSoHammer streamer works on almost every species of fish I've ever tried it on. Here's a big laylock salmon that took the fly. You can see it inside its mouth, but there's plenty of other species as well. Some would surprise you. Here's a big bowfin that took the same fly from a pond in Florida. Here's a 4.5-pound brook trout caught in Maine on that same streamer. Here's a brown trout in New Zealand in a big New Zealand lake. You can see the streamer inside his giant maw there. One example of a great way to fish the Conehead soft-hackle streamer. Here we are at the tail race of a dam. There's fast current. We're casting that tungsten Conehead soft-hackle streamer on sinking line to make sure we get it down from that fast current. And we're casting across the current at a 45-degree angle downstream and letting that streamer drift down with the current while giving it an occasional twitch to give it even more movement. But there's plenty of movement on its own. The current and the Conehead is making that streamer absolutely alive. And with the line down, you can feel the take. There's a nice salmon showing its acrobatic best as we bring it in. Let me close this video by showing you this photo of a beautiful rainbow that took the CoSoHammer streamer in Chile. For more information about this streamer, to follow me on my blog, or more information about my books, check out my website or my Instagram account, mainlyflyfishing.com.